Hello, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the live streams host here, and my job is to entertain you with my witty banter. I'm going to make every effort to do so as. Oh my goodness! Oh my god! I feel so sad. I don't really feel that sad. I don't really feel sad. I feel empowered with me. That's the positive way of looking at it, you see. What I want to talk about tonight is breaking down claims using typology. Now, I plan to do this for as much as I can stay on task here, or attention. I'd like people to put any kind of random claims about things in the world or whatever, and I will explain how to interpret those claims in the frame of typology. To get the ball rolling, I suppose I'll have to generate a few claims myself to break them down and demonstrate how the concept works. So a kind of claim that we could use that's very easy to find is the aphorism or famous quote. So house guests are like fish. They begin to stink after 3 days or something like that. Let's throw shit at the wall and hope it breaks. I would say that's a double action frame of reference, right? So on the one hand, it's in any frame of reference. It says, let's throw out random ideas. Let's see what sticks is what normally the extroverted intuition approach. But Susie's presented, let's throw shit at the wall and hope it breaks. Now that would be a SE frame of reference, I guess. And she may mean that straight ahead, literally, not in the sort of brainstorming or spitballing sense of the word. In which case, of course, then it would be straight up SE. I guess that another SE thing would be, dude, I wonder if I could break that window from here. Good idea, indeed, Susie. So, that's some strong SE indeed. So you could even parse out what Zandy said there. Ha ha ha! I was digging it. Great idea, Susie. And it's she's giving interface information, right? So it's like if we were together in person, I would display with my facial expressions and my actual laughter my response to this. I'm laughing and would convey to you that I liked the idea and that was funny, a good idea. But I'm going to have to do all that in only words. So I just say, ha ha ha, I was digging it. Great idea, Susie. Note, there's no real warrant here by Zandy as to why it was a great idea. It's basically an unwarranted claim, except you could say, I was digging it as a warrant, but then that would suggest that she's going by the logic that everything she likes is a great idea, which may in fact be fairly close to the truth. Regardless, she wasn't anticipating me TI parsing out and critiquing what she had said in this way, so she hadn't done sufficient FE defense, you know. So let's look at another old aphorism or quotation that we can do this to demonstrate the concept further. A stitch in time saves 9. Some ideas are just bad, but these are good for stress. I don't know. I don't know what that would. I don't know. Could you rephrase that? So a stitch in time saves 9. The concept there, of course, is that you should anticipate that minor problems will snowball into major problems. So it points to this, I guess, world vector, which you might call a TE frame of reference, which is to say, but also a TESI frame of reference, that you should maintain that which you already have as a resource and preserve it and protect it, is implicit in the expression, a stitch in time saves nine. And that idea that you should preserve and protect your resources doesn't necessarily have to do with TE in and of itself. But when you add the stitch in time saves nine notion, it's giving you a specific TE heuristic that you can use, which is to say, better to fix a problem when you first notice it than to let it get worse, because you'll have to do a lot more work if you let it get worse. So let's try another old saying. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Well, let's see. Obviously, what it's really saying is if you don't like the way things are going right now, then don't engage in this matter at all. Which is, I would say, astical sensory extrovert. Uh, that's ESFJ. You think that's ESE? I mean, I don't know. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. It seems a very action over deliberation thing, right? Like, hold on, I'm not sure about the way we're doing this. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Although maybe I'm adding some personal interpretation to that. Maybe it just means uh, if you're gonna complain about how hard it is, just go away or something. It definitely implies team playeriness, I guess, potentially. If it's a team activity of some sort. Um, but it's also about the need to be fully committed one way or the other. It's sort of asks for your NIFI, I guess. All right, let's try another one. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, which seem to be an SETE kind of frame of reference. SE in the sense that, with SE, you get the sense that people are attaining large impacts and not paying particular attention to the precision of those impacts. With TE, you get the sense that by paying so much attention to the how to attain the interest, how to attain how to attain against the interested calculus, that they fail to note who else is being affected and how it impacts on the disinterested calculus. Of course, it's also opposed to excessive deliberation. So if you're an INFP and you're being asked to decide on something, maybe every one of the possible choices costs you something, but one is clearly, on balance, costs you a lot less than some others. But you may balk at the idea of having to lose something at all, and it may cause you to hesitate and engage in indecision until ultimately you lose something much more precious as a consequence. So, let's add another one. All's fair in love and war. I mean, it would seem to be SETI thing, SETI rather than really SEFI. Only SETI would be concerned about justifying anything at all and saying, well, it's fair in love and war. SEFI isn't really so concerned with the justifications, and it wouldn't make exceptions in that way. It's also kind of observationally so, which gives it an NI quality, I guess. I guess I'll look at a page of quotes or something to draw from. If anybody would like to toss one out here for me to do analysis on, feel free. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for if anybody wants to throw things out there, then they can. Okay. 108 famous quotes on life, love, and success. You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams. I've had this thought about reality being better than my dreams for some variant of it. Because, it's like I've always had sort of fantasy worlds and scenarios that I'd retreat to when I was going to sleep at night or taking a nap or whatever. And in those scenarios, I was situated such that I had this sort of ideal life as I envisioned it then. I have trouble imagining a life that's more completely attuned to what I need and from the world than the one I currently have. And yet I recognize that there's something deeply tragic about the sloppiness with which I'm living my life, which is to say, the lack of real NITE clarity. And yet I'm also resistant to it. So, Dean M., listen, don't be talking shit about ESFJs. Susie's boyfriend's an ESFJ. All right? She's not going to be having that shit. My ex wife was an ESFJ. She was not dumb. She was a little bit controlling, but she was not dumb. ESFJ is not the relationship partner for me, but I have been married to one, which tells you I also think that it's a mistake to underestimate ESFJs. My ex-wife she could be quite a force of nature with her kill 'em with kindness shit, I watched her win a lot of battles that way. Yeah, so anyway, let's go back to some more aphorisms to deconstruct them. I got the first famous quote I had here was, you know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dream. Well, obviously, it's an FI frame because there are other ways in which reality could be better than your dreams than just being in love, right? I mean, that's not the only way that reality compares to your dreams. So there's no there's no there's no There's an inherent reason to think that's necessarily love. There are other exciting things that could keep you up at night. Two, it's kind of an SI frame of reference because it suggests that one experiences one experiences sort of ontological agitation in SI ways, and then it's also NE because it's it has a lot of imaginary selves, and all of a sudden it's no longer getting any juice from those. That's an anything, which means that Dr. Seuss was an ENFP or an INFP, probably, since that's a quote from him. If you were to analyze that quote and say, what type is that person? Well, given that I see any FI and SI in there, you're talking about an ENFP, maybe, but more likely an INFP because the one you don't hear is TE, which would be fourth. So typologically, that's an INFP quote, displaying 3 of the 4 functions of an INFP, and then being the first 3. I'm selfish, impatient, and a little insecure. I make mistakes. I am out of control and at times hard to handle. But if you can't handle me at my worst, then you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best. Marilyn Monroe. Okay, so let's sort of break this one down and see what functions it displays. So I'm selfish, impatient, and a little insecure. To me, that smacks of NI, trying to label oneself as a set of patterns, but it doesn't strike me as particularly strong NI. I make mistakes. I am out of control and at times hard to handle. So if that's an accurate self-assessment, then it would tend to suggest that she is maybe an action type. But if you can't handle me at my worst, then you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best. Well, that last one would seem to be an FI tool function kind of approach, to say that it's your job to handle what's important to me. So this is what I would call an ESFP quote because it shows NI, it shows at least it shows NI in its structure, it says SE in its meaning, and it displays FI in its conclusions. So that makes it an ESFP quote. Makes Marilyn Monroe an ESFP. Is Marilyn Monroe actually an ESFP? I don't know. But that quote is definitely an ESFP quote. It displays some functions and not others. Let's try another one. Get busy living or get busy dying, Stephen King. So I guess that's, it would seem to me, a pro-action quote that also suggests a failure to act is negative. Of course, by saying get busy living, it means get busy doing stuff, I guess. Get busy fulfilling your dreams or something, making your dreams a reality. So it's interesting. I've said before that in cognitive functions, the prime directive is to narrow the gap between the map and the territory. And then one area in which that's very tricky is in terms of our own aspirations. So if you think about it, it explains a lot of stuff. In the show I'm watching, Asta, who's the main character, says he's going to become the Wizard King. And every time he tells anybody this, he gets a shit ton of grief about it, because you're not supposed to say that. It means you're delusional, because anybody who's not delusional would be too negatively affected by the gap between the map, I'm going to be president, and the territory, what as other people perceive it. So in other words, I'm mapping I'm mapping the territory very differently than other people are. And that is typically associates with poor mapping. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, I don't know. Let me go back to the quote and see what it said. Get busy. So, right. In some sense, get busy living or get busy dieting can be broken down into the following real meaning, which is you can close the gap between your aspirations and reality in two different ways. Number one, you can give up on your aspirations. So you can make your aspirations more modest. Sometimes that's not really giving up. It's just um, recognizing the importance of something that's less flashy, right? But the other option besides reducing your aspirations, making your map more realistic, is to actually close that gap, right? So it's to truly believe and move forward and say, I'm going to do this and take the steps necessary. And in that regard, that's what Stephen King is saying. I think it's like if you're forced to narrow the gap against your will, I mean, if you're forced to narrow the gap against your will by reducing your ambitions, by sort of reality pressing it upon you, it creates some kind of ontological distress because you have within you some inherent sense of what you're meant to be, what you're meant to do, the life you're meant to live, and I don't know what that means. Terobau. Tarot bow. I don't know what it means. Does it mean whimsical basket? Does it mean biscuit buttering stick? Does it mean biscuit buttering stick? Ineffable sanity. What's ineffable about it? What's not understandable about your sanity? All right, so we're doing famous quotes and we're deconstructing them to find out what kind of cognitive functions they represent. The first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be a captive of the environment in which you first find yourself. So this would be an anti-SI quote. This says, those who fail because they are a slave to their past. They have been too confined by what's happened to them before. This is very much a SI polar quote. Therefore, I would say it's either ENTJ or ENFJ. And given its overtly TE ordinal outcome orientation, I would say it's ENTJ, an ENTJ quote. I didn't say what get busy living or dying was. I don't know about that one. Feels NI. Feels like an INFJ quote, maybe. But I'm not sure. Even though it doesn't really represent the INFJs don't exactly uphold those values. When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us. Again, it's about letting go of your past and your personal experience in favor of meanings, possibilities, etc. It would seem to be anti-SI. This would seem to be an ENFJ quote. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the things you did do. Well, this suggests, all right, so assuming the person is projecting from their own experience, and it's Mark Twain who said this, then Mark Twain is acknowledging that within himself, he's least satisfied when he's failing to follow through on good ideas that he has to do meow, meow, meow. And that those are the things that are going to haunt him. And that he rarely runs afoul of his SE causing him problems. So, I mean, that's definitely an ENTP quote. I know going in, Mark Twain's an ENTP, so it kind of makes that one unfair, but nevertheless. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Any thoughts on that one? My typology can do anything. Watch it break this claim now. Okay, so like that statement there, my typology can do anything, would seem to be mostly FE driven, because of the my and the sort of excessive scope of the claim. Watch it break this claim now also suggests FE because it's a command. If there are commands in the mix, then you're almost certainly dealing with an internet function. I'm sorry, a interface function. That's fine, Razor M. My point is, I actually can use typology to break down even that statement and sentence. So I'd say seems like the third slot FE, maybe ESTP or ENTP. Knowledge is power. Okay, well, what does that one mean? Let's see. Knowledge is power would be a knower, obviously, is a quote. And the fact that it's power, I mean, it really could be any of the knowing types, but it would be more likely to be an NI knowing type than an SI knowing type. All right, let's go on to another quote. Why do some people claim that the right partner for INTP is an ENTP? It's a good relationship, actually. It's just they're only complementary in some ways, and there's a fundamental disagreement on frame between INTPs and ENTPs. ENTPs like to have there be ongoing ideation. INTPs spend a lot of time ideating before they come to a conclusion, but once they've come to it, they don't like to revisit it. So, it's like they end up getting mad at ENTPs for not upholding TE, and ENTPs end up getting mad at INTPs for not upholding NI. What's the point of knowledge if I already know everything? Well, it's the thing that allows knowledge is the thing that allows you to know everything. I guess. All right, let's see. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision. I've read that one already. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Boy, aren't you revealing your function bias there, Eleanor Roosevelt? I mean, it's basically saying intuitives are smart. TE sensors are medium. F sensors are dumb. That's what that quote is saying. Is the chat dead or is your internet not working? The chat's dead. The live stream's dead. There are only 8 people here. I kind of anticipated that. There's been a dip of interest. The numbers have started to drop off again, and probably it has to do with the percentage of time I spend uploading videos versus live streaming. I would do better if I uploaded a lot more typology videos, short ones that are easy to consume, and that would probably generate a lot more interest in the live streams. When I did live stream, if I live streamed a little less frequently, a lot of course, ifs, you know. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know though, and it's part of why I feel sad. Is that what I feel? I think I feel sad. It's hard to say for sure. Feelings are always a challenge, but I think I feel sad, and I think it's because really it's because of what Jalen Black said earlier. It's SI deficit. I need more SI. I need sleepings. I need. I don't even know. I need to cry and stomp my feet or something. Complain. Those who dare to fail miserably can achieve greatly. John F. Kennedy. That's a very extroverted feeling. I mean, extroverted intuition and perhaps extroverted sensing attitude. It's very action type. Do first, figure it out as you're after you've messed it up already. I can't give you a surefire formula for success, TE, because there's nothing universalizable for TE, but I can give you a formula for failure. Try to please everybody all the time. So, too much Effie is a recipe for failure. That's Herbert Bayard Swope. Would you like me to give you? See, this is the sort of thing that I just say, Thomas J. Watson, I can't do that. That won't work for me. But here we have it. Would you like me to give you a formula for success? It's quite simple, really. Double your rate of failure. You were thinking of failure as the enemy of success, but it isn't at all. You can be discouraged by failure or you can learn from it. So go ahead and make mistakes. Make all you can. But remember, that's where you will find success, because remember, that's where you'll find success. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. I mean, such an outcome oriented frame of reference, right? Am I in a period of stasis or waiting for something to happen? Perhaps. I could just be in a state of SI deficit and just need some rest. I feel like I'm wasting time. I feel like I'm, stuck at sea and there's no wind blowing. I'm in the doldrums and my boat won't go. And then even when it will go, it's not. The fishing's terrible, so to speak. Like, of course, I have a very short memory when it comes to this sort of stuff, so that um, it's easy for me to feel like I guess it's easy. I don't know if it's easy to or not. Maybe just because I'm tired. It probably really is just because I'm tired. I don't feel demoralized very easily, really. I'm used to, I always say, man, it's always been like this. It's never stopped me before. The limits of my language mean the limit of my world. Ludwig Wittgenstein. Well, that's a very um, NETI frame of reference. Who's probably an INTP said that? He's probably, I would guess Wittgenstein is an INTP. If you want to touch my Wittgenstein, you better not touch my Heidegger. If you want to touch my Wittgenstein, you better let me get up inside of her. Yeah, there's a dirty poem somewhere in there, right? I met her at how much soap does one need to drink in order to determine their Enneagram type? No soap. You need to drink no soap. I like that, Razor M. I used to say that till I totally disagreed with it. Yeah, this is one of the strategies that people use sometimes, including me. I use it sometimes too. Okay, let me figure out the dirty poem that's implicit here. I went on a date. I went on a date to Enriching Minds with a girl who called herself Lucy. I asked, she said, can I look at your Wittgenstein? Though you though I won't let you look at my pussy. So, okay, let's write this down. I better write my dirty poem down or else I'll forget it. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young lady named Lucy. She said, can I look at your Wittgenstein? Then I'll tell you the name of my pussy. So I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside of her, and she said her vaginas I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside of her. And then she relented and showed me her Heidegger. With Kantian zest, I groped at her breast but she manifested some butler and what seemed first to be what's a good word for that? What's like another word for an affair or like a sexual liaison? There's a word I have in mind, but I can't think of it. It's like the 3-syllable word. I maintain that truth is a pathless land, and you cannot approach it by any path whatsoever, by any religion, by any sect. Truth is a pathless land? So, if truth is a pathless land, then you're just wasting our time, Jiddu, right? After all, aren't you trying to provide some sort of path here? But it was entirely pathless then. Please stop wasting our time, Jiddu. Obviously, you think it's pathless, so any claims you would make about its path are irrelevant. Let's talk to somebody who claims to actually know what the path is and to value paths. It's no measure of health to be well-adjusted in a profoundly sick society. It's no measure of wisdom to be able to frame bullshit as though it means something. What an asswipe this Jiddu guy is. Jiddu can suck it, you know? Fuck off, Jiddu. You're so wrong. Must be an ENFP. I hate him already. It must be an ENFP. No offense to the ENFPs in the world. I'm just saying, you know, when you start trying to pitch your bullshit as though we're universally true, it's offensive. The hell is philosophy? Socrates. Love it, Seamus, love it. I'm in love with it. I'm going to marry that. Take it home, bone down, consummate that shit. God, I hate that meaningless bullshit like Jiddu there. Makes me want to throw up. So let's see what I have. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young lady named Lucy. She said, "Can I look at your Wittgenstein? Then I'll tell you the name of my Pusey." I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside her. And then she relented and showed me her Heidegger. With Conti and zest, I groped at her breast, but she manifested some Butler, and what first seemed to be a big win for me resulted in I don't know who he is, Razor M. I got no idea. I worked my mom, then I felt weird about it. Julius Caesar. Can we just not talk about that? That just didn't happen. Okay. Resulted in, let me change Butler. She manifested, but she called into hand her Foucault. Now, it seems first to be a big one for me. Resulted in collapsed into Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It's a philosophy poem. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young lady named Lucy. She said, "Can I look at your Wittgenstein? Then I'll tell you the name of my pussy." I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside of her, and then she relented and showed me her Heidegger. With Conti and zest, I groped at her breast, but she called into hand her Foucault, and what seemed first to be a big win for me collapsed into Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. What's this guy's middle name? It's not Jacques, though, huh? Rousseau. Yeah, it is Jean-Jacques. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. What a great poem I just wrote, huh? No, Eric, it's not great. Shut up. We hate you. Stop bragging. You're not impressing anybody with your terrible lack of skills, okay? Where did I type that even? I don't even know where I typed it. I guess it's a notepad. Yeah. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young lady named Lucy. She said, "Can I look at your Wittgenstein? Then I'll tell you the name of my pussy." I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside of her, and then she relented and showed me her Heidegger. With Conti and zest, I groped at her breast, but she called into hand her Foucault, and what first seemed to be a big win for me collapsed into Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Rousseau, Eric. Rousseau. That's a pretty good poem. That's a pretty good poem. Boy, my poem making sure made Cloud mad earlier. And that kind of made me mad a little bit. Zesty Zandy's quest for candy bested Andy's restless shanty when they fought for primacy, though Andy thought their chemistry, fanned by reciprocity, might grandly make verbosity, in hopes that Sessy's Andy's quest for candy bested Andy's restless shanty when they fought for primacy, though Andy thought their chemistry, fanned by reciprocity, might grandly make verbosity, in hopes that such ferocity attains enough velocity to render her philosophy regarding cosmetology into a quick apology, as Andy's new ontology picks up on something college-y. Sexual attraction. These are some of the poems I've written the last couple of days. What am I talking about? Am I a useful person? Am I a good person? Not really. I do this shit all the time. I'm live streaming. What am I doing? Writing random poems. Why? Why? Well, because it's one kind of work I know nobody cares about, I guess. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's look at some of the poems I read earlier today. Hey, Sarah ISFP, don't be saying meh to me, because Huckleberry's just like you. He's sitting there and saying you. But Winston's mom don't like no squabble. An ocean man prefers a gobble. The sounds of conflict scorn him, yeah. Well, Diamond agrees now and says, oh, yeah. Man so tiny now arrives. A 6 in tow behind her drives, another 6 to make a pair. She's driving in her underwear. When William spots her, flags her down, and says, here, don this wedding gown, and then you shall, and then you'll change from, and you shall change from 6 then, your last name, into Hamilton. Grass makes up less than all the diet of the man this fall, who goes by he who eats the grass, and drives away with heaps of sass, good and decent tender friends, whose skin's too thin to deal with him. Genexiel attained some cheer for Christmas time, to him this dear. He bought some tinsel and some punch. He took a Christian out to lunch. He helped downtown with civic pride and accidentally knocked the slide that children used in warmer times that sat unused in winter climes. Now most abashed, Genexiel went already his plate plenty full, went home to fetch his tools and truck to then repair what he fucked up. A Christmas poem. Another Christmas poem I wrote today or yesterday or whenever. Joey seems to favor Cloud, though Cloud may seem a tad bit proud, and favors good at Christmas time when all the world does you will shine. Now Joey surely has his doubts that Cloud's bold claims are backed with clout, but still he chatters comfortably while others bark, where others balk at pitching seas. Okay, not too bad. And then the ones that I just read before, Zesty's Andy, and I'll read the last one more time. I once had a date to enrich my mind with a lovely young lady named Lucy. She said, can I look at your Wittgenstein? Then I'll tell you the name of my pussy. I showed her my Ludwig to get up inside of her, and then she relented and showed me her Heidegger. With Conti and zest, I groped at her breast, but she called in to hand her Foucault, and what seemed first to be a big win for me collapsed into Jean-Jacques Rousseau. That's the best one. That really is the best one I have made here. It's it's a zesty, zazzy, jazzy, fine thing. All right, let's see here. How do I contact you, bro? You want to do that? You want to talk to me or what? Or are you talking to It's important to remember that right. Yeah, it's important to remember that I mean, what I can tell you, is from looking at the test, is that you can't do anything with your test yet at all. You can gather data, but you definitely can't correctly type people with it because most of those tests aren't even written out yet, right? They're just ideas. They're not even test questions. What was your TE polar test? Okay, well, if you completed it, you completed it. My bad. I didn't know you completed it. What's your TE polar test? But see, what comprises is passing or failing? So what did they do instead? Well, I mean, what comprises a step-by-step plan? In other words, if they have to go back and say, you know what, let me go back and add a step, does that mean they failed it? No, he gives you a scenario and asks you to devise a plan for the robber and a step-by-step plan. But the thing is, I'm not sure what comprises failing it, you know? Like, did they just not come up with any plan at all? Like, what did they say that comprised a failing answer to it? No, but what comprises a failing answer? You know what I'm saying? It's like if I answered it like meow, that would mean I failed it. No, but look, it's a hypothetical scenario about robbing a bank. So let's say you ask me the question and I say, well, I go into the bank with the spray paint and I spray paint over the camera and I say, give me the money. Now, it's a terrible plan, but it is a plan, right? Okay, but why did you choose the criterion you chose? So it's like, even if you have it clearly defined as what comprises failing to answer the question, why is it that comprises failing to answer the question and not something else? Okay, but whether or not the plan fails is up to the narrator and arbitrary decision making, right? I mean, I don't understand. You're asking them to come up with a plan for the robbers to rob a bank, right? In a hypothetical. And you're saying if the plan fails, right? Okay. So what comprises a plan that fails to successfully rob the bank? And why does that link necessarily to TE polar? In other words, it's not a real bank that's really being robbed. So you have to define what counts as a success criterion. And then there has to be a reason why it's that success criterion that actually marks the line of TE polar and not a success criterion somewhere else along the hypothetical spectrum. It's not going to be possible for you to know where that line is without testing a lot of people and finding out if in fact, so maybe your TE polar person failed this test, you say, right? But maybe everybody fails that test. And I don't know what your criteria means when you say if they fail to rob the bank. Remember, this is not a real bank that's actually being robbed. So we can't actually find out if they successfully robbed the bank. We can only say what our criteria are in the story, you know? Okay, so let's talk about the troll question. Have you ever heard the troll question? Do you know what the troll question is? We talked about that at all before? Is if they do not rob the bank. Okay, so that reveals a lot of information about a person's type. But what doesn't reveal anything, really, is whether or not they successfully solve the problem. Because good TE will not always happen upon the solution to a problem that's difficult to solve. I mean, the fact that you don't understand what I'm saying here suggests TI ignoring, maybe. I don't know what's not to understand. So I can ask all TI questions I want. And I can say, now if you do yeah, that means you're polar. But there has to be a reason to say that. That has to be justified. That it's there and not someplace else, you know? I think is vastly overconfident regarding his stuff. Incredibly overconfident. He's not done anywhere close to the amount of work is needed on this test to be that confident about it yet. Okay, but you're not answering my question. So what do I have to do to successfully rob the bank? Remember, you make up the story, so you make up the criteria. It's not a real bank that we can test this on. So tell me what that means. Yeah, if your test is good, it means everyone can successfully rob a bank except for INFJs and ISFJs, and no INFJs or ISFJs can rob it. That's what it would mean for your test to be fully correct and successful and powerful, right? Is that the case? Is that what you're claiming that it does? That all TE polar people can not successfully rob the bank according to your criteria, and all non-TE polar people can? I mean, why would you? What reason do you have to conclude that? Have you done? But are you hearing what I'm saying to you? I am so confused too. I mean, there's a lot of different things people can say. Which of those things comprises a plan that works? Say a plan that works. First, they do this, then they do this, then they do this. A plan that doesn't work would look like this. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not difficult what I'm saying, right? You give me an example of what someone would say who successfully robbed the bank versus what someone would say who didn't. I mean, I hate it when I have trouble communicating with people, especially when I'm not saying anything complicated. Is you think he's saying if they chicken out or don't answer, they're TE polar? But I mean, what he said was if they can't come up with a plan that anyone can follow to rob the bank, including someone who themselves is TE polar, then they are TE polar? Okay, well, so is any plan good enough? If my plan is walk into the bank, spray paint the camera, and demand the money, is that, did I pass the test or fail the test? Do you understand that you're not giving us, yes, that's good enough. All you have to do is that. So you tell me that INFJ and ISFJ won't even say that? What do they say instead? I mean, because note, you say any plan that works. My plan that I just told you would not work based on your scenario. You know that, right? Okay, but do you see why I'm confused? You said any plan that works. I'm the one who taught you that. Now, answer my question. You said any plan that works. So are you saying any plan at all works? Or did you not mean to say any plan that works? Or do you not mean anything by that? This is not, I should not have this much trouble communicating with anybody. So, even a plan that, given the details of the situation you've told me, that any objective smart person would say the terrible plan that will fail is nevertheless a plan that will work or not. Why aren't you answering the question? So, if I give a terrible answer, but it's a plan, do I pass or fail? And if in fact that means I pass, then what does failure look like? What words do they say? They say blah, 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 blah. Okay. Because no, I'm not focused on the bad test. I don't care about that. I'm focused on the inability to communicate. Listen to my words, please. You set up a scenario in which you give the bank robber certain tools to use. And there's a getaway driver and stuff, right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? I'm trying to make progress with okay, so I'm right. Now, objectively, it's possible to come up with a better plan, a more intelligent plan, a plan that's more likely to work, or a plan that's less well thought out, or to potentially be unable to come up with any plan at all. I have no idea. I just can't answer that question. I just don't even know. Right? Are you saying that ISFJs and INFJs always say the last thing? Always biased towards me regardless of the truth, only for my gain and prosperity wouldn't be a type of FI tool. Okay, so they can't even come up with a bad plan. What I mean by a bad plan is less well developed, less likely to succeed according to the scenario you present hypothetically, but nevertheless a plan. Okay, fine, cool. So I'll be interested to see if in fact that bears true for TE Polar. If you're right, then fantastic. You've come up with a great TE Polar test. Now, I get that. I'm not confused about that. Do you understand why I was confused by what you said? Okay, well, all you did is triple confirm that that particular person couldn't do that test, right? That is not confirmation that this is something that you can reliably use to test TE polar yet. It's like the rat test. Every NI polar person I've tested with the rat test that I know is NI polar so far has given responses that indicate it's useful as an NI polar test, that it works as an NI polar test. But I'm hesitant to make that claim yet. I don't feel like I've tested nearly enough people with it. With a lot of people tested, then I'll begin to feel pretty increasingly confident that it does work as an NI polar test. The biggest challenge for me is I don't get very many NI polar people, so I don't have very many chances to test it. So it's going to be a while till I feel confident that I have an NI polar test, Well, Eric, the thing is that is more so a product of testing cognitive functions in general. What is? I don't know what you mean. Well, in general, you want to be careful. Like I try to be very careful about making claims because I know that when I make claims that a given test shows a given thing, I'm going to get a lot of pushback on it, and a lot of people are going to say you don't have enough cause to make that conclusion. You're blah 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 blah. So and I also know that I'm prone to to over embracing my intuitive leaps sometimes. I'm hesitant to trust my intuition in that regard. But then I'm an NE-DOM, so I like to think things through for a long time before I bring them out. Occasionally, I screw up and bring out something before I've really thought it through, like I did the other night with this absolute value thing. With that, before I realized it's not a matter of different kind of values on different aspects. It's not an aspects thing. It's just that you have to remember the cognitive functions are experienced in life both as objects, like this object will nevertheless remain an object that's filled with examples of somebody using extroverted intuition. It's possible to encounter this as an object in the world. Your relationship with extroverted intuition as an object is different than your relationship with extroverted intuition as an agent. That is to say, your habituation of using it or your amount of time during the day that you use it, which is also different than your relationship with it as a subject. That is to say, being expected to produce it or producing it for demonstrative outcomes of some sort, being expected to render it useful. So it's like with SE, as an agent, I have a pretty comfortable relationship with it. As a subject, I have a very uncomfortable relationship with it. And as an object, I have a very comfortable relationship with it. I like to watch sports. That's SE as an object. I don't like to be required to do things, or I don't like pressure to do things or critique about my ability to do things. That's SE as an agent. And SE as a subject. SE as an agent means, do I struggle to incorporate SE in my own life as I see fit during my own time? And the fact is, sort of, I guess. But I don't, it's more like I have a problem with TE than SE. Yeah, I will. I'll transubstantiate your bong right now, George Foreman. All right. This is a good way to spread positive energy throughout the world in general. and ensure that we manifest the fourth leaf of the clover as per in Black Clover. The fourth leaf is the one that provides luck. All right. Now for proper transubstantiation. Here we go. By the powers vested in me as the arch-pastor of the Aelorian Church and the head priest of God's Big Heaven Church, as well as the archdeacon of Talking with Famous People Ministries, I do hereby transubstantiate this bong rip to George Foreman, such that my lungs do all of the work, but his head gets all of the impact. All right, well, that's me. That's me at it, OO. Here, come in here and test me. Test me with some test questions and tell me what conclusions my answers give you. You're welcome, George Foreman. I missed the high from that myself, but I'm sure it was great. We've got a couple of good weeds this time, but the one that I'm really excited about is Jack Herrera. Now, it's not often that you get a lot of satisfaction from I'd like you to come into the autonomy room and ask me your test questions. Test me. Come test me with various test questions and see what my answers look like and whether they're consistent with what you expect an ENTP to answer. And I'll answer as straightforward as I can. Your FI is fine. I remember I asked you the would you rather about Freaky Friday Rachel and Rachel's mom. Oh. Yeah, that's pretty basic level FI. Okay. Well, will somebody else go in and read it to me? It's available somewhere. Can you put a link to it, OO? I want to be tested. I never get tested. Well, I was about to say that normally I'm not that thrilled with sativas or even sativa heavy hybrids. But there are exceptions. And this is number one on that list of exceptions. Jack. It smells like Jack, tastes like Jack. How long can you ignore it before someone starts up on you? I normally would rather not, and yet at some point I do. And when I do, I go in hard. I really would rather not, though. What is that about? I'm curious. Yeah, Jack Herrera. This is my favorite sativa by far, or Super Jack. There's another kind of Jack Herrera called Super Jack that's I also like a lot. But this is okay. Well, I want to know what you think it means, what you think my answers mean. I mean, if you can taste, if it's true, that I could take your test without a test proctor, then it's saying that there's no capacity in your test to follow up with clarification questions or something, which would be great if you could get it to work. But remember also that you need these things to be more or less ungameable. So if it's a simple enough trick that people can learn, then it won't last very long as a good test question. So I don't know if it's gameable or not. There's a lot of questions still open, but I'm interested in checking it out. I would love to answer the questions, Here, I'll make you a moderator briefly. Oh, maybe you can put a link here to it or something. If I'm not mistaken, I was speaking to her and picking up around you. These came in, so I might be mistaken. Oh, I'm sure you were speaking to Winston's mom. No, I saw that the app Winston's mom. I was just curious what you were talking about. I just dove right in and invaded your privacy and said, "What are you guys talking about?" Cool, good. Oh. You know, I'm kind of getting excited about trying it out. I've got typing sessions. I got a typing session at 10 a.m. I got another one at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So I am going to open this link and I'm going to keep it open so that it's already in for me. Think of the worst deed you've ever done in your life. Just think it. Now, how much would you have to be paid to do it again to the person you care about third most in your life? You couldn't pay me enough. I wouldn't do it again. Certainly not for personal profit. That would just sort of double down on the evil. It's very simple. I mean, I will love to see it and see if I fail it. Cyrano, played by Steve Martin, knows how to deal with bullies. I mean, but I don't think that's a good test of FI exactly. I'd like to think my sort of life rules are consistent with FI, but they're not driven by them. I do know that my own feelings would bother me a lot if I were to engage in hurtful behavior to people that's willfully hurtful instead of cruelty. I know my FI wouldn't be able to handle it, but I don't think that's why I would not do it. How can it not be if that's the only way you can validate one path over the other? I mean, I'm increasingly interested in seeing how this thing turns out. I know the first thing was full of good ideas that were rough, so that was encouraging. I was surprised by that. Um, can you put the link? I mean, the thing is, being polar in something doesn't mean you don't use that function or are completely blind in it entirely. It means you have a very immature development of it. But, you know, just like what Winston's mom says there, my FI is pretty active at times and pretty proactive at times. I guess you could say I'm trying to avoid having to use that cognitive function. It makes me uncomfortable, especially if I have to use it in a way that's painful. So in some sense, that can look like a very good, strong FI because it has at least some awareness of what's going to cause me um, what's that word? I can't remember the word. There's a word that says like, like these two fingers are sympathetic. Okay. Sympathetic is the word. It's true, but it means you cannot produce correlates from it that are recognized as substantial by the objective world. I don't know about that. You need to remember that FE is designed to imitate FI. That is very good at it. I have some things that resonate strongly on FI terms with people. For example, I have a song, Big Problem, that the lyrics of which say, "So he came here with her, and what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott, despite getting caught. He's got you reframing for him, straining for him, going to the gym to make yourself good enough again." And then in the chorus it says, "Yeah, you guys both have lots invested, but that's not a reason to stay around." Um, Both have lots invested. That's not a reason to hang around. Through the years, you've both been tested. Time to move up, find higher ground. And the thing is, it's a song that resonates with women in difficult relationships. And the other thing is, it was willfully created to be such. I said, I want to write a song that resonates with people emotionally. What kind of lyrics are going to work like that? And that's why I came up with that song and those lyrics. So don't underestimate workarounds, you know? But what I'm saying is, for something like that, the most revelatory thing that you could get is somebody explaining that their reasoning behind why they made certain artistic choices. That's one of the most revelatory things you could get out of somebody regarding type. I love the idea of a test that provides additional useful tools. I think that a test that will stand alone and be reliable about providing people's type, I'm skeptical of your ability to accomplish this without interfacing with the people at all. Like, I know for me, it's definitely some art to it. It's not just science. But hopefully your thing works. I don't know. Good job trying to standardize shit. Hopefully it sort of validates what I'm saying, and then that'd be great. And I love the fact that you've explicitly attached your boat conceptually to this understanding of things. So good job. Cool. That's fair. I mean, you know, I was thinking just yesterday about test questions a little bit. I was thinking about trying to ask people to trying to figure out how to say each of the following things, basically. Like, are you more likely to manage somebody else's motivations in order to attain fairness, or are you more likely to call upon what's fair in order to constrain another person's behavior? Something like that, you know? All right, well, also external and internal, because there are 4 fields. Plus 4 information directionalities: putting, getting, receiving, and interfacing. Which is, in the card game I made for this, which works great, by the way. It's a great card game. In the card game I made, I have interface functions allow you to move something from either external field to your front stack internal knowledge field. So because it's, it interfaces with information and knowledge is the one that's paired with it. So like in the card game, it's basically like backgammon plus rummy mixed together, kind of. And I really have to make a video about it, actually. It's one of the happiest moments I can remember recently. The moment when the other night, and I forget to be happy about this. The other night, this thing I've been thinking about for a long ass time, and it kind of thought was a really good idea. I had this notion that I could play it as solitaire. And once I had this notion, I managed to play it out as a solitaire game. And then, I had to cut a couple things out of it to make it work as solitaire. But then I tried it the next day, having proof of concept it with Rachel. It worked pretty well. I mean, the only thing is I realized I need to make one change structurally so that I separate out all the function cards and make them in one stack and the rest of the cards in another stack. And I'm really, really excited to play it at some point, hopefully some way, somehow. If I could get 4 people into a room and we each have our camera on, well, I mean, it's going to be hard to do not in person, or at least without an app that makes it do that, like, so you can move a card from here to there and then it stays there, If there's if there's some sort of like card app that lets you basically play any game, like lets you, it would let you somehow input all the rules. But well, you're right about that. I make more money from typing sessions than I do from YouTube. That's for sure. I feel, you know what? Oh, you have cheered me up tonight. You really have. You've made me happy. I was so fussy. And then I remembered, you made me remember, somebody out there is excited about what I'm saying and wants to make it useful. That's fantastic. It makes me emotional. I mean, look, Sean O'Neill, I agree. I don't doubt that OOO is going to have this happen a lot of times. There, it's done. Now it works. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, now it works. Wait. I don't doubt there's going to be a fair amount of that. But it seems like he's building it based off of the right conceptual notions. And I don't doubt that he will optimize as he goes, as he finds out that things, So when I raise these sort of questions about it, I don't intend to be discouraging at all. I'm just saying that the things to consider as you're optimizing, Okay, well, I'll ask somebody here to proctor it. Can somebody please come into the autonomy room and read me a test question? You won't be seen on camera. Your voice will be heard on the thing, but hello, darkness, my old friend. Here's somebody. Somebody's gonna come and read me a question. So where's the link? Sean, good. You're gonna read me some questions here, but I need the link still. Come on, oh. You are playing Make 'em Wait Ultimate Extreme version. The ultimate extreme version of Make Them Wait. Alma the INTP is more obvious to me than an INFJ. I would eliminate INTP first. Then for sure. There are plenty of them here on Host Eric's channel. They are usually awkward and social. They're awkward socially usually. Oh, the sorrow and the suffering, the torture and the murder, the misfortune and the anguish that I experience waiting, not for Godot, but for OOOO and his link. So long ago promised, still undelivered. Do you see the anguish it causes me to have to wait and wait and wait? I'm not a good waiter. I never have been a good waiter. I'm very impatient. If there's a long line at some place, it could be like, okay, you got to go to this place urgently, Eric, to get your new kidney. And I'll be back in like 15 minutes. Why didn't you go get your new kidney? There was a line. There was a line there. I didn't want to wait.
What's your hidden agenda with SI third?
I don't have SI third. I have FV third.
Oh, okay.
My hidden agenda is not very hidden, but you could see it as a hidden agenda if you were to come in here one time and see me contemptuously TIing somebody. You would say, what's obviously important to this guy is logic and not how people perceive him, or else he wouldn't be such a dick. The reason it's hidden is what's actually true is it's very important to me that I not be perceived as a dick. I'm just bad at it, So that's what makes it hidden agenda, I guess. What's your hidden agenda like as SE? Yeah. Seems like you want to talk about shit, but actually you want to do it.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm still like trying to wrestle the idea. It's new to me, so I was just wondering if you could get a hidden agenda and then try to use that to try to test for a TE or FI or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe play it. Just use it as part of the apparatus somewhere, in your Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, it's plausible. I mean, I think the sort of similar thing that I'd like to see developed is the do you eat cheese to end your hunger, or are you hungry for the purpose of eating cheese? It's like, but not that, but the equivalent format, but for two different values, such as do you problem solve because that's how you get what you want, or
the job exists because the man needs money to feed his family, or the job exists, or the man does, like the job exists because it needs to get done, and then that's why you pay someone that's why you feed someone's family so they'll do the job for you, something like that.
I would say, basically, is problem solving satisfying in and of itself, or only satisfying as a means to get what you want?
Okay, yeah, it's like the objectivist thing. Like, I don't build buildings because people want me to make a building for them. It's like people come to me because I build great buildings. Like I design buildings and then people come and buy my buildings instead of people pay me to design buildings. It's like celebrating TI, like it's independent thinking. Rourke in Ayn Rand's novel.
I am still waiting for you to send that. Oh. Can you believe how long I'm waiting? I feel like I'm at the DMV. Oh is the DMV. And right now, he's, helping another customer. And they don't speak English, and neither does he. But neither do they speak the non-English language they each speak. All right, yes, thank you. All right, so Sean, I will put this link to this here. Meow, 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 meow. All right, I will shizair the bizair with my jizair to the tizair by pushing this and 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 then pushing this. Pow! We could view together in room. Oh my gosh, Sean, we're having a moment. We're viewing together in the room. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
All right, this looks like not a good place to look at it, so I'm going to look at it in the regular meow. All right, so let's see if we can find the FI polar test.
You have to grant me access, please.
Oh, I do? Oh, sorry, I didn't make it anyone with a link. All right, done. And let me just copy that link again. Copy link, copy link. All right, here we go. And put it in the chat with the Piao and the Piao. We're going to stop this sharing because we built this city on rock and roll.
Okay.
All right, so if you click that one now, it should get you there. And let's see if you find the FI test. FI polar. I don't know what the let's see. Or TE polar test. I'm trying to find it right now.
Yeah, it's a bit verbose. They cannot formulate any relative determinations.
Here. Page 12. Go to page 12.
Okay. Hi.
Create an expanding moral dilemma by which the participant must choose which moral position to uphold between two paths they initially find unilaterally moral or immoral in every case. Okay, so two paths that I find unilaterally immoral in every case. So that would be like, would you rather rob someone or assault someone? Okay, I guess I'd rather, if I had to do one, I'd rather rob somebody.
I'd rather assault someone.
I guess I consider robbing them the lesser of two evils there. So you're supposed to give me a series of those kind of questions.
Well, I would rather be robbed than be assaulted, right? So, like, I don't know. It just...
All right, so
I mean,
give
if it's
me a
lost,
series of those. So go ahead and give me a series of those kind of questions.
okay. So I was supposed to just generate these, or
I guess I don't see any list of them there. That's an example of one.
okay. Um, I mean, if it's polar, is it also conceivable that we're fucking with your polar if I just ask you to kind of delve into it and justify it? Like, why, if you had to think about it again, would you say, okay, I would rather assault someone than rob them?
I mean, I'd rather rob them in part because robbing, I can define the scale of the crime precisely, whereas assaulting them is going to depend on. I have to use a certain amount of force, and I don't know how much damage that's necessarily going to do to them. So I can't know as clearly how much damage they're going to do. That's one reason. Another
That's
is
battery.
another is I suspect being assaulted is more traumatic than being robbed.
You mean the colloquial sense assaulted, not like the crime? Because like batteries, when you actually touch someone, right? Just like when you, I mean, it's just like,
Okay, well, I mean, like punch somebody. Okay.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. But what does this guy mean?
I don't know. So ask me
Yeah.
another one of those. But just because I'm able to do that with one of them doesn't mean it's a bad idea to check this thing.
Well, I just think it's bringing that up because I've heard you talk to people about laws before and other stuff. So I think you're really in your FI thinking and not using logic when
Well,
you
I
sit there
mean,
and like
the thing is,
equivocate. Be like, assault means this, blah blah blah. Like,
okay, but I think the challenge is I don't think I came up with an equivalent one. Oh is the reality, because those two things are not equivalent, robbing and assault. And the reason they're not equivalent is for good TI reasons. We need to find out something that's really equivalent. Somebody else come up with a question. I can't. Somebody besides me come up with a question for me, please. Can somebody do that? Oh, you made the test. Come up with a question. Put it here. I mean, the thing is, this is not an FI polar test. This is assuming whoever's giving the test has excellent NE.
let's say you and your significant other go to a foreign land, and there's two languages for the two classes of people. So you have to declare on your first day when you get there which language you're going to study. So first language is easier to learn, but then you'll be, that class citizen, like with the traders and stuff. And then the second one takes longer to learn, but you'll be an aristocrat. So which one do you choose for each of you? Like, would you rather be the aristocratic class or the other class? You'll basically be working in 3 months the other way. The other way is 2 years of school, and you come back and you'll be well to do.
I mean, I guess I'd choose the aristocrats.
So, but that means that forces your significant other to do the other one.
Oh wait, you didn't tell me that part.
Oh, that's what. Sorry. Yeah, I understand. Make it like you both go there, so you have to.
Okay, now I get it. No, I get it now. So who do I make the peasant and who do I make the aristocrat?
Yeah, like trader class, but yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I guess I'd ask her what she wants, and we'd have to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the one that's the noble class would be like the ambassador, isn't they actually have an agenda instead of just the attaché who's like serving like random people whatever stuff.
Well, I mean, in that case, if the person who's the aristocrat is going to have more responsibility on the other end to do certain things and or have um, be more engaged with decision making and such, then I would rather that be me. I think both because I think in my relationship anyway, that I want that she doesn't, and also because I think that um, I can do it better than she can.
That's true.
The question is like,
Yeah, but it's strong.
but who would you save, your mom or your dad, right, from in a fire? Well, for me, unfortunately, one of them has dementia, so it's again an easy question.
Right.
But if I were to pretend they were both fully well, maybe let's say back when they were say 55 and I was like 20 or something, and you would ask, well, which one would you save in a fire?
I don't have to say, but like at least in socionics, right? They say this dysfunction is either all the way on or all the way off. And I felt a very severe effect when you're talking and saying that. Like I really felt like taking on your feelings, if that makes any sense to you. Like I'm not joking or trying to say something.
Well, I'm trying to put myself in an SI frame of reference first before answering the FI question, because I think I finally found something where there's an equivalence for me. But I'm trying to put myself in the frame of reference where my mom's fully a legitimate person again, and it's difficult for me to do that. It's like I wish there were an actual example I could turn to of something I could find that is equivalent to me, because that's the trouble I'm having here. Is everything that you're bringing up to me, I can find TI distinctions. So there's a good reason to prefer one or the other.
Can you combine hypothetical like neural nets coming that might help people in a few years to get rid of dementia, things like that? Like she might be able to be cured from that. I don't want to.
Okay, yeah, okay. So let's pretend. Okay, fine. Pretend there's some magical cure for dementia. She comes back, and then there's a fire, and I can only save one of my parents, my mom or my dad. And I just gotten my mom back, and she's like she used to be a long time ago. I mean, I might save my mom on the grounds that my dad might get mad at me for not saving my mom if I saved him. Or my mom wouldn't get mad at me for not saving my dad if I saved her. A disabled friend reports difficulty getting her medication because her son spends her SSI checks on gambling debts. Will you help her, report this, ignore it, or call someone else to hang out with? I mean, depending on how close I am to the person, I would probably ask them to let me talk to this person, the son, and try to make some progress on that. Try to get a better sense of whether or not what kind of solution there is to the problem, if any. Would you rather save Rachel from dying or Rachel from turning into an ESFP, or save her from getting hit by a truck? So I can either get her to turn into an ESFP or be hit by a truck. Well, I'd rather her turn into an ESFP because I could always just break up with her without her being dead,
God.
If she were an ESFP, I don't doubt that I would end up breaking up with her if she was magically turned into an ESFP. I don't think I could live with an ESFP for very long.
That's eerily close to what happened to me.
What, your girlfriend turned into an ESFP?
My wife, yeah, we were married for years, and then she got off birth control, and then it totally changed her. And she's like, "I'm not attracted to you. I don't want to be with you. I never all this stuff." I'm like, I show her all this research, all of it. There's tons and tons of TI. Like this is a common, totally documented thing, like about coming off the pill. Like you can have this kind of thing, and it always says there that like, but if your husband is classically attractive, then like they could work it out. I was like, but at least try. She wouldn't even try. Wouldn't even give me a chance. Just done. Because there was no feeling there, and it was like, oh my god.
I think that this is a promising possibility. What Bobby Sun says here: if you can ask a bunch of FI questions that are designed to be FI questions that are designed to contrast against equivalents, and people are able to distinguish between them and say side A, because, and provide reasons that are TI style reasons, and they consistently do that, it may be the case that the capacity to avoid actually engaging something with FI is a skill of sorts that you could test. In other words, explain, choose between these two things that really aren't very different. Like, would you rather chop off a person's arm or um, ruin their business and foreclose on their house and steal all their money? So an FI-polar person will, by this hypothesis that I'm stating right now, will be able to give you an answer to that and give you reasons as to why. Is that a crazy notion? It's really Bobby's son's notion. It's just it's just me operationalizing Bobby's son's notion.
What about trolley problem?
Well, I mean, the trolley problem is a good example of that. But see, the trolley problem is something that most people have no problem articulating, and most people respond to the same way, which is they're okay with flipping the switch. They're not okay with pushing the guy. Most people will take that approach, and only some people will be able to explain why. So what I'm saying is, if you pick a bunch of apparent equivalencies, and a person is able to parse out the reason, the distinctions between them. So then that would be a TI favoring approach. All right, let's look at the other test on this thing for a second. NI and he says SI. Okay, let's see. Okay, polar NI. All right, so can you start here, Sean, on page 8?
Okay.
I guess I'll read it aloud for some of it, and maybe I'll hand it. Then you ask me the questions. Okay, let me read it out loud, and then you ask me the questions. You're on the phone and at work talking to your partner about how bad the violence is in your city between the beaches and the death squad, the beachers and the death squad. You tell them it's the hottest time of the year in your city, and the city is alive with everyone wearing short skirts and sandals. You tell them during this time the killing is especially rampant. You tell them the beachers are notorious for their killing sprees and their signature beach attire, which always includes sandals, while the death squad is notorious for being non-discriminate in their ruthless killing sprees. You say it does not matter if you are a man, woman, child, or dog, they will kill if they so choose. You then tell your partner you got to go pick up your monthly prescription at the pharmacy and you will call him later. He asks you what pharmacy, and you say the pharmacy with the broken cameras. Then he says all the pharmacies have broken cameras in our neighborhood. That is not a meaningful demarcation. You hang up the phone in laughter of him being pedantic. There's a lot of interesting detail here. You walk to your local pharmacy in the early afternoon from work in your work attire, which includes work boots and a work jumpsuit for your monthly prescription. You see a woman with sandals, a skirt, and glasses right outside the door. All of a sudden, she gets shot by a gun and dies. Next month, you go to your local pharmacy again in your work attire in the afternoon, and you see a man with sandals, a cowboy hat, and a beard down to his knees, and he gets stabbed by 3 people and dies. The next month, you decide to go to another pharmacy to get your monthly prescription. As you walk in your work attire in the afternoon, you see a guy with no shoes, a necklace, and 2 sandals on it, and boxers, and he gets killed by a car that crashes into the pharmacy. Next month, you decide to go to another pharmacy, but this time in another neighborhood. You drive to that pharmacy in your work attire, and you pick up your prescription. The next week, you see from your local newspaper that a child died right outside your local pharmacy from getting hit with a bat, and they identify the child by him wearing sandals with socks and a pink shirt. You decide that it is probably a good idea to leave your current residence because you get a call from the local police department for questioning about all these murders because you were found to have been in all of them except one. Now, at the police department, 2 police officers questioning you. They say if you give them a sufficient answer for both questions, they will let you go, and if you don't, they will hold you until further notice. Okay, Sean, go ahead and ask me the questions.
Okay. What time did all of these murders take place?
Okay, so am I supposed to assume here? I'm no longer looking at the story. Am I assuming that I don't get to look at the story while I'm answering it? that I'm supposed to use my SI here. Okay, so I think it happened when he was done with work or during his work lunch hour. I think right after work it happened. Right after work. But if you're going to tell this story verbally, then I can look at the story. Okay. Well, if I can look at the story, I can look at the story. So it was at early afternoon. The answer is early afternoon. Okay, what's the next question, Sean?
Why were you going there?
To get my prescription.
Where were you coming from?
Work.
Based on everything you experienced, what do you think is the cause of these murders?
The clothing they wear. Well, I mean, that's not maybe the cause of the murder, but that's the thing the murderer is queuing on.
What about the heat? Make everyone crazy. Yeah. Okay. Why do you think, based on your entire experience, you have never been shot or killed?
Because of the clothes that I'm wearing.
Okay. Based on everything you understand how the city is, why do you think is the cause of these murders?
I mean, we have to link something monthly. Well, like a magical thinking explanation would be the full moon. If the thing is, the scenario suggests there's something magical going on because you hear from your partner about these beachers and the death squads. So it seems um, that it's a society in which beachers and death squads coexist with citizens who blithely and obliviously move about the world as though they weren't there.
I think your NE is dumb as showing, because for me that's like this whole thing. That whole thing was distraction. There's the death squad. They mention it in the sandals. They mention the sandals, but they all died random ways and just random fluke shit. Like gets hit by a car that ran into a pharmacy. Boy gets hit by a bat. There's no gang violence that's happening.
Three people stabbed one of them. Huh? One of the people died when three people stabbed him concurrently.
Right, but it was what, like I'm saying none of the killings had any relation to each other, is what I was saying. Like not like the same.
Except they were all either definitively or possibly intentional acts of violence.
The car accident in the pharmacy
is possibly not.
And said a boy got hit by that, not that he was beaten to death. So it's like I don't look. I know
at a pharmacy. Who gets naturally hit by a bat at a pharmacy?
The car like crashed into the pharmacy.
Okay, but I mean the thing is that so that one we're not sure if the person intentionally crashed in or not, but the three people stabbing definitely did it intentionally. Yeah, and who accidentally gets hit with a bat at a pharmacy?
That's the way it was worded. It said the boy was hit with the bat.
Oh, so I know it leaves it up to our intuition. I'm saying intuitively, it is not a naturally occurring thing that a person accidentally gets hit in the head with a bat at a pharmacy.
Yeah. I have the TI of fear, so I don't like to look gullible. So that's why I get little antenna on that. I don't like to do things, but so I'm on guard for that more. That's all, or something. I don't know. I don't know. But that's
all right. So what are we supposed to conclude from this? Are you done with the questions? Are there more questions?
I didn't see much. There it is.
Are there more questions?
No more questions for that story, no.
So what do you conclude about that? Oh. I didn't answer the question? I think I did. Oh, what do you think, based on your entire experience, you've never been shot or killed? I said because of the clothes I'm wearing. Based on everything you understand on how the city is, what do you think the causes of this murder? I said, well, um, a possible magical thinking answer would be a full moon, since it seems to occur on a monthly basis at pharmacies. It could be, for example, that's when people get their prescriptions filled, and people with certain kinds of clothing are perceived to get certain kinds of prescriptions that are desirable for people to steal, like, I don't know, OxyContin or amphetamines or
It's weird that
benzos or something. So maybe that's the thing. On the day when people get those prescriptions filled, the ones who are wearing certain clothes are likely doing these drugs that are fun to do, and so they get killed and their drugs are stolen. And the reason you don't get yours stolen is because you're in work clothes, so you're unlikely to be doing those party drugs. How about that?
the work clothes is distraction, right? Because you're just on the phone, so you should just be in like collared shirt or something.
Okay.
Oh,
Says.
Pharmacy every time.
Okay, hold on here. So Oh says, based on everything you understand on how the city is, what do you think the cause of the murders is? That's my answer. Why do you think, based on your entire understanding of how the city is, you've never been shot or killed in those occurrences? Because of what I'm wearing.
Oh, I have an idea. It's a dream. It's a dream. You're just in a dream, right? So it's like, haha, got you. Night M Shalaman, whatever. Like I was dreaming.
Okay, so I mean, the thing is, that is what do you think comprises basing it on my understanding of the city? And that's what I did. That's how I answered the question. When I based it on my understanding of the city as a whole and what's going on there, I said, this is my explanation. So what does that tell you? Is what I'm asking. I did answer your questions. I didn't not answer the questions. It's based on things that I consider to be part of the city as a whole. I mean, it says here.
Yeah, I don't know how this is supposed to be effective.
So you're saying based on how the character understands the city, what do you think the cause of the murder is? The character, I mean, my answer is the same. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. My answer is still the same. I can't conceive of this. You're saying, imagine this you being unable to intuit the conclusion that you've intuited because they intuit something else. Well, I mean, there's nothing to prevent them from intuiting what I intuited. So why would they intuit something else?
Have you ever explored like implicit memory and explicit memory? There's like explicit being the conscious that you pull up as NI, and implicit one that you don't control it just comes and as SI.
Oh, hold on with that, Sean, because I want to finish this up with oh. But listen to me. That the question you asked, right? That's how I answer it. So now your job as the tester is to tell me what that means. They do not have the facts that you personally have. They don't know anything about moons. They say they don't know anything about moons. Well, why wouldn't they know anything about moons? It doesn't say that in the story. I mean, they have to be. So look, the fact is, an ENTP one ENTP has answered the question the way that I answer it. So either you need to have some interpretation of what that answer means, or you need to rephrase the question so you don't get that answer if you don't want it. And I think that what you're trying to do there is an unreasonable request from people. You provided them lots of clues. You should use the question as it's naturally designed to be used. Intuit solutions here. Intuit what might be the cause here. You know?
Maybe you have master FI.
Because look, there's a lot of possible answers. The one I came up with, I think, is a pretty good explanation, actually. But you've got a lot of information there. It could be because it's the hottest day of the year. You know, it's a hot time of year, except it's month after month after month. So that's obviously going to change over the course of the year, and the merge persists. So the heat is definitely a red herring. As far as the beach attire, though, the fact that people are still wearing those kind of attires suggests that it never gets particularly cold. So it's probably some place like Los Angeles or some other fairly warm place like San Diego where people can still wear sandals in the winter. And we can conclude lots of things from it, and that's what makes it sort of a good playground, actually. But it's not really. Oh, my answers mean that I'm not NI-polar or SI-polar. Okay, fair enough. Then that's correct. I'm not SI-polar or NI-polar. I think it's a good test of intuition, actually. Justin Salisbury, what explanation would you come up with for this thing? If you read about it or saw it, I can put the link here if you want. It's here. You can look at it. All right, so let's see what else we got on this little test here. Okay. So this thing here, FE polar test. This script should be audio recorded. You were chilling with your new friends Luke, Samantha, Chris, and Tiana that you met a day ago at the bar. Everyone was talking, and Luke decided to talk about how your favorite pro basketball team will lose their next game. You responded lightly at first, but as Luke kept asserting that your team would lose, you got angry, and you punched him. And then you guys start fighting. Samantha, Chris, and Tiana jump in to stop the fight, and with Luke now having a bruised nose, bruised face, and bruised arm, everyone is questioning your character and whether you should call the police or send him to the hospital. Devise a script as to how you will be seen as a nonviolent person in their eyes. Go ahead, Sean. What are you going to tell them to pitch the fact that you're nonviolent? I've already answered this question. Well, let's see what Sean says.
About what? Sorry.
All right. About the FE polar test question. I just read it out loud, but if you want to read it for yourself, it's on page 5.
Oh, okay.
Basically, you are chilling with your friends. One of them starts talking shit about your basketball team. It escalates. You eventually punch him. And now he has a bruised nose, bruised face, and bruised arm. Everyone is questioning your character and whether they should call the police or send him to the hospital. What do you say to convince them that you are a nonviolent person? Devise the script as to how you will be seen as a nonviolent person in their eyes.
I mean, my answer doesn't make sense logically, but I'll not have to be clever. I'll just say what I say, and people will just go with it, and that's how it'll work. It's just.
Well, what are you gonna say? So pretend I'm Samantha, okay? Sean, listen, look, I thought I knew you. But what you did tonight is not okay.
We're playing ball here, and we got out of hand. It's probably not going to happen again.
Probably.
We go tell people about it, then they're going to take it away from her. We'll lose the privilege to play ball here. So, yeah.
Okay, what you did tonight was violent. It was oafish, churlish. It was brutish, manly, incredibly sexy. Oh, Sean, take me home with you.
Okay, I sent some of your Facebook to the graphic, and it's like separating like what I want to call NI or SI memory, right? But like one of the things was like in my memories, I have memories where I can remember what I was thinking. Like really, I can like see it in like what I was thinking in the memory, but I don't have any memories where I can remember what I was feeling, right? And like implicit memory is like with you remember feelings, and explicit memory you can remember like some of your cognitive process or something like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And the one like the explicit is supposed to be in our memory, and like implicit is like it comes automatically. It's supposed to be like the SI memory.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What's an infidelity device? Inky Pinky. Let's see. Cheating machine? That doesn't rhyme. If that's the answer, then that's not a good one. That's not a good Inky Pinky. Cheater meter? I don't know. That's a good one. If anybody wants to come up with some Inky Pinkies and they're good, I'll put them here. Cheater meter. I think that you need to change device to tester or measurer, something that's a little bit more fair, you might say.
What do you think about this idea I typed in the chat?
Let's see.
I don't want to mention, but just this did happen, so you know, maybe.
Master FI is CSJ idea from recent streams that ENTP is most moral because once they do see the light, they never betray the moral after learning it.
Yeah, you said they have the strongest conviction.
I mean, I would guess that he's based that from looking at me.
Yeah, right. So then we could say you have FI, so.
I think that's funny because, of course, it implies, since he claims he's an ENTP, that either.
Oh yeah, he said that for himself, of course.
But it doesn't necessarily set up well for him because it means that he's either seen the light or he's not seen the light. It opens up the possibility that he's not in the seen the light category, but in the not seen the light category.
Just saying that's why he has to go to strip clubs and do everything he's doing. He said he has to do that. He has to do the, you know, what the Indians always. This is my words. I'm sorry. He has to do the rat race so he can become the good thing. That's kind of what he's telling people. But he's using American language to do it. And that's kind of an idea that's in Hindi culture anyway. Like you can even do it more than once in the same life. Like be ascetic and go samsara and then come back and do it, you know, or whatever. He's kind of using that idea.
What did you miss an explanation about, Alma? I'll repeat it if you need an explanation. Tell me what you want. I will meet your needs. I'm here to serve you, the viewing audience, the intellectual food you want to eat. Eric, got any ideas on an FI test? Well, I mean, I think what we talked about earlier is a good place to start, which is you give people examples of moral equivalencies that would seem to be very similar in terms of undesirability or desirability, and see the extent to which they're able to parse out reasons for it. Like maybe the hardest one, when you get to the hardest kind, would therefore be something that's totally equivalent objectively, which is a puppy and a kitten. Which would you rather have to drown? You know, a puppy or a kitten? All right, well, that one is just a toss-up, right? It's like I'm not going to be able to justify one as being in any meaningfully way different than the other. So presumably at that point, nobody can come up with a justification. They have to use their feelings. But you can see how close to that people get before they use their feelings. You know, if you give them a sliver of distinction, will they grab upon it? that would be a good FI polar test. Okay, I think that's what I was doing there the whole way through. Is if you provide me equivalencies that aren't quite equivalent, I will seize upon that sliver of distinction and choose the one that is appropriate according to my framework, and provide reasons accordingly. So, and then at the end of the test could be the puppy and kitten one, because I basically think nobody can answer that without using their feelings. Just say, well, I like cats better, so, or I like dogs better.
Like a month instead of a few days, like dog and cat allergies are twice as common.
I mean, you could come up with that. Okay, you know what? But look, the point is, you don't. Hold on, listen. The point is not that you have to keep the cat or dog that you don't drown. You know, neither of them are yours. You're arbitrary.
I value the life of a dog more than I value the life of a cat.
Okay, well that's fine. That's the point. Is it's the only kind of justification really you can make is that I prefer.
Well, they have mirrored on too, so they're man's best friend. And cats don't; they'll eat you, man.
I know, but what I'm saying, is, from what I understood, you were projecting that a person would increasingly struggle to deal with a progression of moral equivalencies. What I'm saying is that it's actually going to be the other way around, that somebody with good FI is going to increasingly struggle to draw distinctions between things that are approximately equivalent on FI grounds. In other words, they won't be able to move away from FI. They'll settle into, well, it's just because that's the one I prefer, much sooner than an FI polar person who will fight it tooth and nail all the way until the end, where they get to puppy or kitten, or, you know, I don't know, like, you know, like I said about the chop someone's arm off or bankrupt them. Well, that's still got some kind of sliver of distinction, right? And the other thing is, if you can answer those kind of questions fairly easily, it's a sign that you're FI polar. Which would you rather do? Chop somebody's arm off or bankrupt them for life? You know, bankrupt them and foreclose their house and steal their money. Well, I guess I'd rather do the latter on the grounds that at least I'm not preventing them from attaining goods on the experiential level or impacting that at all. At least they'll still have that. They'll still be able to run around and jump and play, and they could use their physical abilities to rebuild their life to some extent. Whereas if I chop off their arm but leave their financial stuff intact, I may remove from them permanently the ability to earn any money, depending on what they do. And like let's say they're a professional concert pianist, and then you know, they'd probably much rather I bankrupt them and take all their money. So yeah, I think you were onto a right notion. It just hadn't resolved into the right NI spot yet, and I get that process. I totally understand. That's just how the process works. Why did you just say no? Well, obviously the scenario is positioned, and that's the other thing. A TI tool function person might pay the following lip service. I'm presuming that there's not any other option than these two, or they might not even pay that lip service. They might just answer the question straight away. You'll notice how easy it was for me to answer it, because I didn't consider really. I didn't have to consider my feelings or their feelings. I didn't really feel out what it would feel like to do either of those things. I was able to just think about what's more a violation of a person's rights fundamentally. And it seems that the body is intuitively the more fundamental rights violation. It impacts on a deeper level, you know?
Can I say what I would think?
Sure, you go ahead.
Yeah, like I thought the arm the whole time, because you said this cut off arm, and the other one you're describing like you totally wrecked the person, like they're bankrupt, they lost all their property, took all their money and their house and everything. And I'm just thinking about them continuing on their life. Like they had all of that shit, then that means they worked for it. They clocked it at points. You know, they don't have the esprit vital to do that again, man. You're gonna break someone, you take everything, and no one cares about someone with no money. So like, they're not gonna get any pity from anybody. But if you cut off their arm and they still have all their shit, yeah, man, like they got it. You know, they can still have their life. Like, I would rather lose my arm if I'm set up like that than lose everything. You know, I'm young. I'm
It sounds
35.
like
Right
you're,
now,
I
I'm
mean,
young. But if
I
I'm
tell you what it
50,
sounds like, Sean. It sounds like you're arguing strongly against COVID lockdowns.
against COVID lockdown, yeah, for sure, man.
Okay, so I am tired now. What time is it? I gotta work in the morning too. I gotta do that typing. And I'm not even gonna get a full night's sleep really. So I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. Thanks all for being here. It was an interesting stream. I enjoyed it. It was fun talking to everybody. Thanks for being here, Sean. And um, I feel better. You know, I do. I feel better than I did when I started the stream. Which I didn't really feel very good. I felt sad or something. I felt emotions at the beginning of the stream. And now I'm pleased to say the presence of all of you and the conversation and the back and forth and discussion of interesting things has largely cured me of my feelings. And that's the big relief. I don't like to have feelings. Another one? Wow, Winston's wrong. By the way, on that video earlier, I used this new mic. It sounded, I'm having trouble getting it to, like, it's very quiet at the moment, but I may just need to plug it in better and try to use, I'm not sure. You know, it's like I gotta mess around with it a bit. So thanks for being here again, and don't forget to eat plenty of personality cheese.